Hi there, this is Mr. Khan from 11 Plus and GCSE Coach. In this video, we're looking at multiplying and dividing fractions. So, how do you multiply and divide any fractions basically? So, in this question here, we have 2/3 times 1 over 4. Um, the simplest way to multiply fractions is simply times the numerators together and denominators together. That's all you need to do. So, in fact, multiplying fractions actually is easier in many ways than adding and taking away. So in this question, what we do is 2 times 1, these are numerators times together, over 3 times 4. Now, 2 times 1 is 2, 3 fours are 12. And again, if you can simplify the fraction, you should always try to simplify it. So obviously 2 over 12 can be simplified. You divide them both by 2. So to find an equivalent fraction in lowest terms. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 1 over 6 is the answer. So 2/3 times 1/4 is 1 over 6. This is the way of multiplying fractions. Now, to make life easier, there's something else you can do before you multiply across, and this is what you can do instead or prior to multiplying. If possible, try to look for any numerators and denominators that could be cancelled out, that could be simplified first before multiplying. It's not always going to happen, but sometimes you can. So, for example, 2 over 3 can't be simplified, so I can't simplify that fraction. But 2 and 4 can be simplified, so diagonals, you can simplify them. Because when you multiply them, you end up with something like this. So you can cancel 2 and 4 like that. 2 goes into 2 once, into 4 twice. So just like you simplify normal fractions, you try to find a number that goes into both the numerators and denominators. Try to find a number that can go into any of the numerators and denominators. So in this case, I can see clearly 2 and 4 are both even numbers. So that means they can both be divided by 2. So if I divide the first 2 by 2, I get 1. So I cross out the 2, I put 1 instead of it. And if I divide 4 by 2, so what I'm doing is I'm dividing it by 2 here, I'm dividing it by 2 there. So if I divide 4 by 2, I end up with 2. So what I have now as a fraction is 1 over 3 times 1 over 2. So if I times these two across now, this is what I end up with. So 1 times 1 is the numerator, and 3 times 2 is the denominator. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 2 is 6. And note, it's the same answer as that. Now, all I did was I simplified before I multiplied in the previous example. In this one here, I multiplied and then I simplified. You might be thinking, what's the big deal? Now, this makes life a lot easier when you have big fractions, big numbers in the fractions. So, for example, 14 over 15 times 3 over 7. Now, 14 times 3 will give you a big number, 15 times 7 will give you a big number. However, if I look ahead before I multiply, I can clearly see 14 and 7 can both be divided by 7. So if I was to divide 7 by 7, I end up with 1. And if I divide 14 by 7, I end up with 2. So I've divided both of these numbers by 7. So now it's a lot simpler now. So all I need to do is 2 times 3, which is 6, and 15 times 1, which is 15. A lot easier to do than doing 14 times 3, then 15 times 7. And at the end of it all, you probably won't be able to simplify it that easily, because you probably wouldn't be able to find a number that goes into both of them if they're not both even numbers. Anyway, so it's worth dividing first and then multiplying across. Makes life easier. But it's possible. It's not always going to be possible, because you might not have any number that's common in both of them. Okay, so that's how you multiply fractions. So how does division work? Now, before I can show you how to do division, you need to understand the concept of reciprocals. Now, reciprocal of any number is 1 divided by the number. So, for example, the word is reciprocal. So, the reciprocal of 5 will be 1 over 5. And reciprocal of 3 will be 1 over 3. So, what's the reciprocal of 2/3 then? Well, you can do reciprocal of fractions as well. It doesn't have to do with whole numbers. Now, I'll give you the answer. It's going to be 3 over 2. Now, how do we get that? Remember, I said to you earlier, when you reciprocal of a number is 1 divided by the number. So when you see what happens to division, you'll understand why it's 3 over 2. What some people say is flip the number over. So when you might be thinking, how do I flip 5? It becomes 1 over 5. Well, any whole number can be written as a fraction if you put 1 underneath it. 5 is the same as 5 over 1, and 3 is the same as 3 over 1. So the effect of reciprocal is that it seems like it's been flipped over. So 5 over 1 becomes 1 over 5, 3 over becomes 1 over 3. and 2/3 becomes 3 over 2. And all that happens because you're dividing 1 by this number. That's how reciprocals are found. So why am I talking about reciprocals? Because when it comes to dividing fractions, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the number. So what do I mean by that? So let me give you an example. If I do 10 divided by 2, so I'm not dealing with fractions, I'm just giving you an example of using whole numbers. Well, we all know 10 divided by 2 is 5. But is there a number I can times 10 by to get the answer of 5 as well? Yes, there is. So 10 times the reciprocal of 2. So remember what I said, reciprocal of 5 is 1 over 5. So the reciprocal of 2 will be 1 over 2. So the reciprocal of 5, the reciprocal of 2 is 1 over 2. So if I do 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 10 times the reciprocal of 2 is also 5. You might be thinking, how? Well, 10 times 1 over 2 will be 10 over 1. The whole numbers can be written as a fraction, and you times across 10 times 1 and 1 times 2. So if I write here 10 times 1 is 10, 1 times 2 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 10 divided by 2 is the same as 10 times the reciprocal of 2, which is 1 over 2. So when it comes to dividing fractions, all you need to realize is when I'm dividing by a fraction, I can do the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal of the number I'm dividing by. Why would you want to do that? Because you saw here in this example how easy it is to multiply fractions. So let's have a look at this question. So hopefully you understood the explanation. If you haven't, just replay what I just said, and then hopefully it will make more sense. But I'm going to show you now how to divide this fraction. So what I do is 3 over 4, I keep the first fraction as is because I'm dividing that fraction. What you're dividing by is that's the one you need to find the reciprocal of. So what's the reciprocal? If the reciprocal of 2/3 was 3 over 2, so what's the reciprocal of 2/6? I'm sure you worked it out now. It will be 6 over 2. So instead of dividing by 2 over 6, I can multiply by the reciprocal of 2 over 6, which is 6 over 2. Now, what's the benefit of that? Now you can see that this question becomes same as multiplying, and then all I need to do is times across. And remember what I said a few minutes ago, you can times across first, so let me show you that if you were to do that. That will give me 3 times 6 over 4 times 2, which is 3 6 are 18, and 4 2s are 8. And then remember, always try to simplify the fraction. So I can divide them both by 2. That will give me 9, and that will give me 4. So I end up with 9 over 4. But now I realize that this is an improper fraction, so I need to write it as a mixed number. So how many 4s go into 9? 4 goes into 9 twice, which is 8, and the remainder of 1 over 4. And that will be the answer to this question. So 3 quarters divided by 2/6 is 2 and 1 quarter. You could do it like that, or to make life slightly easier, you could divide first and then multiply. So I could have divided 3 over 4 times 6 over 2 by something that simplifies the fractions. I can clearly see 3 and 2 can't be cancelled out because there's no common factor of them. But 4 and 6 can. Apart from 1, 2 goes into 4 and 6. So 2 goes into 4 twice, into 6 3 times. And then a times across now. So that'll give me 3 times 3, which is 9. And 2 times 2, which is 4. So same as what I had earlier, 9 over 4, which you saw earlier, can be written as 2 and 1 quarter. And same answer as that. So to summarize, dividing by a fraction is same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So what some people have done is they've come up with a little acronym to help remember when it comes to dividing fraction. And it's quite a catchy one. It's called K, F, and C. Now, KFC for short. Now, what does KFC stand for? K, if I just rub some of this out so I can write here, the K stands for keep, and F stands for flip. You could say it should probably be KRC, keep, reciprocal, and change, but it sounds more catchy if I write KFC. So K is for keep, meaning keep the first fraction as it is. That's your K. F is for flip, meaning flip the second fraction over. And remember, if it's a whole number, you put 1 underneath it and then flip it over like we did here with 2 and 1 over 2. And C is for change, meaning change the symbol to its opposite. So the inverse of division is multiplication, change it to multiplication. So KFC is the way to divide fractions. Keep the first, flip the second, and change the symbol to multiply. and then times across, because timesing fractions is a lot easier than dividing or even taking away and adding. Hopefully that made some sense. What I have here is some questions for you to have a go at. So when you're ready, pause the video and have a go at these questions. Hopefully you've attempted these questions. Let's go through them quickly. So we're multiplying 3 over 4 times 4 over 9. So again, I'm going to try to simplify first and then times across. I can clearly see 3 and 9 can cancel out. 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 9 thrice. 3 goes into both of them basically. And what's the 4 and 4 can also cancel out. So the common factor of 4 and 4 is actually 4, the highest common factor. So 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 4 once. So now I'm left with 1 times 1, which is 1, and 1 times 3, which is 3. So the answer is 1 over 3. You could have done it the long way. 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 nines are 36. And if you look at your times tables, well, 12 goes into 12 once, and 36 3 times 1 over 3 will give you the same answer. So whichever way you do it, you get the right answer as long as you don't make any mistakes. Okay, the next question, number 2, you're multiplying these two fractions. 5 over 6 times 2 over 9. Again, either times across and then simplify, or simplify first and then times across. I'm going to simplify first. Remember, the simplification can only be done when you're multiplying fractions. No other way, not adding or taking away or dividing. Only when you're multiplying it. Okay, so 5 and 9 can't cancel out, but 2 and 6 can. 2 goes into 2 once, into 6 thrice. You end up with 5 times 1, which is 5, and 3 times 9, which is 27. So 5 over 27 is the answer to this question. Next question, 2 and 5 can't cancel out. 3 and 3 can. So 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 once again. So you end up with 2 times 1 at the top, the numerator, which is 2, and 1 times 5 as a denominator, which is 5. So 2/5 is the answer to that question. Moving on to division questions now. So remember, to divide fractions, you do KFC. So keep the first, flip the second, and change the symbol. So keep the first, which means 3 over 5. Flip the second, that becomes 8 over 3. And change the symbol to its opposite, which is times. Now, again, now we're multiplying fractions, so we can simply either times across, or see if you can cancel first. Clearly, 3 and 3 can cancel out by 3. So 3 goes into both of them. 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 once again. 8 and 5 can't cancel out, so I leave them as they are. So 1 is the numerator as the first fraction. So 1 times 8, which is 8, and 5 times 1, which is 5. So 8 over 5. So again, this is an improper fraction, so I need to write it as a mixed number. How many 5s go into 8, which is just 1? Remainder of 3, 3 at the top, and 5 underneath. Again, if you don't know how to write mixed numbers into improper fractions, improper fractions into mixed numbers, then please watch the video on that. Moving on to the next question. 7 over 8 divided by 3 over 4. Again, keep, flip, change. So keep, flip, change will be 7 over 8, keep the first one, flip the second one, 4 over 3, and change the symbol to times. So again, either times across first and then simplify, or simplify first. 7, 3 can't cancel out, 4 and 8 can. 4 goes into both of them. So 4 goes into 4 once, and into 8 twice. So end up with 7 times 1, which is 7, and 2 times 3, which is 6. Again, improper fractions. So how many 6's go into 7? 1, with the remainder of 1 over 6. 1 and 1/6 is the answer for this question. The last question is 1/6 divided by 2/3. Keep the first, so 1/6. Flip the second, 3 over 2, and change the symbol to times. Again, 1 and 2 can't cancel out, but 3 and 6 can. So 3 goes into 3 once, into 6 twice. So end up with 1 times 1 at the top, and 2 times 2 is 4. 1 over 4 is the answer to this question. Hopefully you got all those right. Now to finish this off, so I want to give some examples. So what happens when you're dividing or multiplying fractions by whole numbers? So just a random example, let's say 2/3 times 5. Now it's not difficult at all, because if you remember a few moments ago I said if you have a whole number, you can write it as a fraction by putting 1 underneath it, not on top of it, underneath it, because any whole number can be that number over 1. So for example, 5 is the same as 5 over 1. And remember from the first video on fractions being division. So 5 over 1 means 5 divided by 1. And how many 1's go into 5? The answer is 5. So that means I haven't changed the number. I've just written it as a fraction, that's all. Okay, so now if you put 1 underneath it, it's the same as multiplying two fractions. So simply times the numerators together and denominators together. Please note that 3 and 5 can't cancel out, so I'm not cancelling anything out. So 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 1 is 3, so that gives me 10 over 3. Again, improper fractions, how many 3's go into 10? The answer is 3, with a remainder of 1 over 3. Hopefully that made sense. And just to give one example on division, let's say, random example, 4/5 divided by 6. Maybe you can pause the video and have a go at this question before I show you the answer. So what would you have done? So remember, when you have a whole number, put 1 underneath it to make it look like a fraction, and then do the division method, which is KFC. So keep the first, 4 over 5, flip the second, becomes 1 over 6, and change the symbol to times. Now again, I can either times across first, or I can see now before I times across that 4 and 6 can be simplified first. I can divide them both by 2. So 4 goes into 2 twice, 2 goes into 4 twice, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So now I'm left with 2 over 5 times 1 over 3. So times the numerators together. 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 3 is 15. So 2 over 15 is the answer to that question, 2/15. And it doesn't matter if it's the second number, that's the whole number, or the first. So for example, I could have done 7 times 3/4. Same thing again, put 1 underneath and times across. And that'd be 21 over 4. And that would be same as 5 and 1/4. Same with division. So if I have 8 divided by 4/5, so I put 1 under the 8, so it becomes 8 over 1. And I flip the second one over, becomes 5 over 4, and I times across. Remember, cancel first, 4 into 4 once, into 8 twice, end up with 2 times 5, which is 10, 1 times 1, which is 1. Now I'm left with 1 as a denominator. Remember, when this 1 is a denominator, it means it's a whole number. So the answer to this question is just 10. Hopefully that made sense. Thank you for watching.